Welcome back, everyone, to the StarLadder and iLeague StarSeries Day 6 with me, Zalay, casting the games today. We've already cast a few of the ones that we had planned, but we've got 6 total sets for the day. The next one is going to be the 4th one, Thijs versus Orange. Both players that are doing pretty well, I think, in the standings of the event so far. Thijs, I think, having had a lot of focus on his stream, recent memory, they also put a lot of time in tournaments, and it's interesting because I look at Kalento and Thijs as two players who spend a lot of time streaming, but Thijs has kept himself active in competitive tournaments forever, effectively, where Kalento disappeared, then came back, and is now dominating, whereas Thijs is doing just as well as ever, but more on the normal side of things. He had a hot year last year.
Yeah.
How do you feel about his prep in this event?
I mean, we've got a couple great players in front of us here. Thijs and Orange. Orange is currently ranked number 3 in the world on Go2 Gamers. He's just been crushing everything. If he doesn't win, he still places high. He's not 0-2 dropping anywhere. And Thijs, I mean, 2-time European champion, right? That's if anyone achieved anything like that, that's incredible, right? So looking at the lineups, Orange's Warrior is banned and Thijs's Paladin is banned.
Orange is playing the Hyper Aggro lineup, just for your information. It's part Warrior, Quest Rogue, Murloc, Aggro, Paladin, so Grimscale Chums, RDU style, I think. But no Aggro Druid. I really expected that to be the 4th class.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, I think Aggro Druid's oftentimes like one of the first decks in an Aggro lineup. But he does have a Mage there. Is that Secret Mage for Orange?
Last time we played, I think it was banned.
Okay.
So I don't recall if it was Secret Mage. Orange had the really, let's say, unfortunate openers with the aggro deck that he's brought. And so every single game that we've seen, he would play his Murloc deck and just draw the top end. Drew the Spike Prestige, drew the Blessing of Kings, drew the Tyrion in the opening hand, never found 1-drops. So things kind of fell apart. And the one time he had a good hand, his opponent had an even better one, which was kind of unfortunate for him.
Yeah, I feel for him. So we got Quest Rogue versus some kind of Mage, and the Quest Rogue's looking to obviously complete the quest while protecting its life total in the early game, and Orange on the flip side just looking to get that early minion pressure, get some chip damage, and set up for eventual burnout lethals. So he keeps the girl as early minion pressure. He figures Medivh's Valet is more of like a turn 5 play, so that's not an early game play that he would keep. And it is Secret Mage for Orange. A decision that's going to work out well for him in this matchup. It's got more early minion pressure, the Cabal Crystal Runner and the Kirin Tor Mage. And also, crucially, the secrets from Secret Mage can be very good against Quest Rogue, stuff like Counterspell and Spellbender. Counterspell is weak to coin, but Spellbender does hit Shadow Step quite nicely.
Yeah, it's a bit clunky sometimes to use Mirror Entity in this matchup because that's probably one of the least valuable ones you'll ever get. As usually the stuff you get is like 1/1s and 1/2s. You hit the occasional, youthful Brewmaster, but it's not that amazing even then, unless you're getting the secret for free with Kirin Tor Mage. So it's really going to come down to playing the secrets as a means to generate mana reduction on Crystal Runners, because those are really the big payoff cards in the deck.
Now this is a big turn for Thijs. Coin Igneous Elemental is very tempting. The only argument against it is it uses the coin, which could be a key resource against Counterspell from Orange. So he's kind of thinking about how much do I need to save this coin against Counterspell versus how awesome is it to line up my Igneous Elemental against that Sorcerer's Apprentice. He really wants to trade off the Sorcerer's Apprentice. He really wants to kill off the Igneous Elemental so he can get those Flame Elementals to complete the quest. So he decides to not respect Counterspell too much, and in this case he will be rewarded for that decision.
Yeah, and we see Orange here with the possibility of protecting the Apprentice with a Frostbolt. I think that's what he's going to opt for, since anyway Thijs can trade away the Igneous Elemental. To get himself the Flame Elemental. So you'll never prevent that Igneous from doing what it wants to, which is spawn the little 1/2s from it. On the flip side, you're getting yourself an extra 1/2 if that one gets played first. So you can use that plus a ping at some point in the future, or just weave in an extra body on the board to get yourself value. More importantly, you play a secret, next turn you're dropping a 5/5, and that is something that Thijs is just, in his deck, not well equipped to handle.
Right, so Orange kind of played that Mirror Entity more for the Innervate on Cabal Crystal Runner than for the 1/2 he's getting off it. And like you said, good point about Mirror Entity being weak against Quest Rogue. If you want to tech your Secret Mage to be really strong against Quest Rogue, Potion of Polymorph can be a better choice to kind of disrupt their quest. Or just avoiding the anti-minion secrets can also work. Just stack more counter spells in a Spellbender.
I've kind of liked the Potion of Polymorph. You mentioned it. You know, I've been playing a little bit of that. I don't know how much of Potion of Polymorph you've tried out, but I was surprised at how effective it was, specifically against Quest Rogue, because it's not the card that jumps to mind when I'm thinking, hey, how do I tech against Quest Rogue? It's definitely not the first card I'm thinking about. So I was really happy to see that there's a lot of diversity in the secrets you can play in Secret Mage, which actually adds in many circumstances, especially tournament settings, a degree of uncertainty for the player facing off against it. Because you don't know what it is the opponent has. Is he playing Spellbender? Does he play Ice Block as a one-of? We've seen people do that. So it's kind of tough to navigate the matchup just based on how many secrets there are.
So Thijs, I believe, can set up to complete the quest next turn and actually play it next turn. He can complete it this turn if he really wanted to, but it doesn't seem wise. He's going to trade into, I would expect the girl here, deny that discount. And also just kind of lowers the pressure on board. Value trading 1-2 doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, the girl's much more important to deal with. He doesn't use the Shadow Step because he figures his board's not going to be cleared. What if
Shadow Step's an interesting resource? I really don't know. Maybe like value trading plus Shadow Stepping the Ferryman, replay it, bounce Firefly, so you get an extra 1/5 for next turn.
Okay.
And an extra 1/2, sorry, for next turn. So you basically keep the most minions on board, diminish their amount of stuff that they have. Your dagger can kill the girl, but you'd have, I guess, if you had prep, you probably do that. But without prep, it's tougher because you have to play the full cost.
Now, if Orange could clear here, he would seriously disrupt Thijs' quest. So if he hit like Primordial Glyph into Volcanic Potion, is something that would blow out Thijs. But I guess it's unlikely enough that Thijs chooses not to play around it.
No, that's still a pretty okay turn for Orange. I mean, he gets the body on the board, the Pyros, which, if it dies, can actually just get replayed on the following turn. Since he's got very little on 6 to do, and that deck is sorely lacking something to do at this point in the game. It's one of the big weak spots of Secret Mage, where turn 6 is so dry. You're kind of happy to have the Pyros added to the deck. And Thijs, not really finding the best of cards, but
honestly, Patches isn't even a bad draw. It's still a 1-mana 5/5 charger. You could do a lot worse in Hearthstone. That's one of the
when
nice
you put
things
it that way. When you put it that way, I'm sold. You got me.
Yeah.
1 5/5 charger seems good. Oh, that's so clunky for Orange.
Yeah, Orange played for board last turn by trading instead of smorking with his Cabal Crystal Runner. And, I mean, Orange's outs to win this game are a bit slim.
Well, frankly, the deck contains enough burn that he's potentially good to go, because Thijs is still forced to consider his health total in this spot. Maybe not anymore, I was going to say. Unless he picks up some form of Glacial Shard or Bylefin Tidehunter, he can't really stall the Elise. And if it connects once, sometimes it's not enough. You know, you just have too little health to continue going for the face play, but this is beautiful for Thijs.
Yeah, so Thijs can Bylefin Tidehunter and probably Shadow
he's locked
Step
out the game.
It.
He's basically locked out the game with this series of draws.
He can set up lethals while just being extremely defensive. Orange needs something completely absurd and extremely unlikely to pull out a win here.
Hey, Doomguard.
It's interesting plus for the dagger. Dagger's a very low tempo play here. I guess the idea here is Thijs is representing lethal. Patches is 5, Brewmaster is another 5, Shadow Step's another 5. So if the 15 on board sticks around, he has 15 from hand as lethal. So he figured even though that was a low pressure play, it was maybe enough play to set up lethal, and that's good enough for him. Ethereal, whatever that thing is, the 5-mana 5/6 is a good size. You know, the 6th health is a key number against the 5 attack minions from Thijs.
If they can trade 1 for 1, it's pretty bad. But if they have to face tank it, then sometimes they just ignore it because they can't risk, you just finding the burn. So they'll just take the initiative and go face and ignore it, which is kind of okay for you. The issue is you see that Bylefin and you're thinking, well, that's probably bounceable in some way or another, just based on what I know of that deck. So you don't expect your 5/6 to connect all that often.
If Thijs Mimic potted a Shadow Step, it'd be lethal here.
Well, you're right with the patches. That is true. What if you ever started that?
I mean, let's see. If you Mimic Potted a Shadow Step now, it's probably too late for that to be.
Yeah, you need to get the. You need to have done it. Attacked with the Bylefin first.
So he's kind of going with a weird in-between sort of line. I guess he's going with Igneous Elemental over Mimic Pod. He's trying to value tempo. He's going for a tempo line with Igneous Elemental instead of a value line with Mimic Pod. Just because you can go for lethal this turn doesn't mean you should. Tice figures he's so far ahead here, he doesn't need to look for a small chance at lethal, just one out. He can instead just go for like a more reliably strong play.
But if Orange has Ice Block in the deck, which I've seen some of these decks run a 1 of Ice Block, there's a potential line where he finds the second one off the draw. Like Ice Block Medivh Validate a face that puts Tice at... Oh, never mind. There is no Ice Block. This is all moot and dead. Tice will take it. And Orange's matchup, which, you know, he kind of wanted this matchup to happen. Very, very slow opener for Orange, again, which has been the story of him in this tournament.
Yeah, good matchup, bad draw. You know, a matchup's not good enough. Questro can't beat you. And Tice had, I think, a pretty good draw there. The coin Igneous Elemental contesting the Sorcerer's Apprentice was key for Tice.
Yeah, I mean, Orange had to use a Frostbolt on that minion, which actually furthers Tice's agenda, taking burn away from my face, using, you know, a pretty crucial burn spell early in the game that could have stalled later on, and you're also not developing on the back of this. That's pretty good for him. And then the Mirror Entity being the only secret available, really important, as there was no counterspell, nothing along those lines. So, yeah, Orange just not getting the right half of the deck in this spot.
And that win for Tice is really big. Orange is playing an aggressive lineup, and aggressive lineups tend to punish or bully Questrogue over and over and over again. So to get a win with that Questrogue and never have to play it again against a series of bad matchups from Orange, it's worth more than a win normally is for Tice. This is a big 1-0 lead. He really needed that. And he keeps the mana...
Go ahead.
He mulliganed the Sorcerer's Apprentice, which is interesting. He has turn 1 Mana Orb, and he didn't want the turn 2 Sorcerer's Apprentice. I think he values instead hitting some kind of spell, particularly a Frostbolt, try and keep the Murlocs off the board from Orange so that Orange isn't getting synergy from Murloc War Leader and Cold Light Seer. So Tice is really prioritizing removing Orange's early game Murlocs to prevent Murloc synergy buffs.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. The value of something like Apprentice is only good insofar as you're the one, you know, seizing the tempo with it. But if you're only responding and you're slightly slower than your opponent, like if they go Grimscale Chum into Coin Vilefin, for instance, you're in trouble because Hydrologist suddenly punishes you and then your Apprentice kind of sits dead. So I much prefer going for that Frostbolt push. But Orange, again, with the aggro Paladin, finds 3 of his top-end cards. Like, this is just the story of the event for him.
Yeah, I mean... some Bible thump for Orange right now. Like, he kept 2 solid cards off the opener. He can go 1-drop, coin, 3-drop. The War Leader's just really strong, even if you don't play it immediately. And he just hits 3 of the most expensive, slowest, clunkiest cards in his deck. Exactly what he does not want to see. You saw him let out a sigh of frustration a few seconds ago.
Yeah, and he doesn't play Consecration in the deck as far as I remember. And picks up another situational draw here. He probably has to... I mean, do you consider going for that Coin War Leader? You're literally killing yourself on Frostbolt is the problem, and you're not curving ever again.
Well, the Frostbolt's gonna be a bummer for you either way. I think Hero Power versus Coin War Leader both have some merit. The point of Coin War Leader is you're just hoping to get lucky and top deck something next turn, which is a reasonable decision to make when the early game goes this badly for you.
Yeah.
The point of the Hero Power is that, you know, well, the 1/1 can test the board well, and you would like to get a little bit more value out of your Murloc War Leader, and also the Coin War Leader, it doesn't curve well at all. It's a very high risk line. You may not draw something to curve out well the following turn, and then you're just making things worse.
And in this case, you actually can curve quite nicely. I mean, you've got the War Leader, you play on 3 naturally, then on 4 you've got Jadal Megasaur, then you've got the Coin Spiker Steed, the Dream. So, I mean, this is still curvable for Orange, given that nothing else comes up. And the board from Tice is not big enough and, you know, threatening enough that you're under too much pressure. The issue is, since your deck's entire game plan revolves around going aggressive, and you're drawing this slowly, you're going to get blown out the moment they can get value clears. The Volcanic Potion 1 of, the Flame Strike 1 of. If those are in Tice's hand, your board's just going to get blown up.
So this game is mostly a battle for board control, and so Tice was never going to pick that light well. He was between Void Tear and Frostcaller. Void Tear is a little bit cheaper, so that's what he goes with. He knows the Frostcaller can get True Silver down, potentially. It'd be very inefficient. So Orange does pick up a True Silver, which is a good tool for catching up when behind on board. It doesn't line up well against these current minions, but it lines up a little better against the Void Terror, potentially. Orange just consider Murloc War Leader or coin True Silver. Can't imagine he would Hero Power or coin Megasaur.
I mean, we've seen coin Megasaur happen, but in this case, I think it's just strictly inferior to the War Leader, unless you assume you're going to draw a runner Murlocs, in which case you're looking to keep that buff. Yeah, I much prefer having the War Leader down early. Let's see if that's going to be another blowout turn. Nope, not the Frostbolt, but this is fantastic against Spiker's Steed.
Yeah.
That Polymorph is going to hurt.
Yeah, pretty good book there for Tice, I would say. So he's looking at Void Terror versus Arcane Intellect. Goes to Intellect because it clears the Murloc War Leader, which is important. Curves into Secret plus Valet next turn, potentially. He's trading off his minions, so the turn 4 True Silver doesn't do much. He knows the turn 4 Megasaur is not too threatening because it's not buffing anything. So Tice just kind of takes the play that leaves Orange's turn as weak as possible. And look at this Secret plus Valet, just extremely clean answer.
Yeah, and now Orange is looking at Sunkeeper to Ream on tempo. Like, if he wants to get anything out. So I assume we're going to see True Silver in a much slower play. What is up with Orange's, draw sequencing? Something is wrong. Somebody seed that guy's deck. This is all wrong.
Yeah, seriously, never lucky. He could True Silver the Valet and think about Coin Curator the following turn.
I like that. Seems solid to me. I think this is best shot, right?
One thing he wants to think about is he's thinking what's Tice's turn 6, and there aren't a lot of proactive turn 6 plays for Tice, right? So that means a lot of times Tice can squeeze in a ping next turn. So coining Hero Power for Orange probably doesn't make a lot of sense because it's probably pretty easy for Tice to ping it down on his turn 6. If you were going into Tice's turn 7, it'd be different.
It'd be different.
There's a lot of Firelands portals, and so coining out a Hero Power can be good against that.
Well, that's going to be the turn that Tice just plays a Void Terror for a slow tempo. There's never really anything you're eating up, and if that's a charge away... I mean, you could make an 11-11, I guess, if Alex lives, and you just consume it, but I don't think that's really worth too much.
Right. I like the Void Terror. Just, trading with that True Silver charge is a fine thing to do with your mana. You're not really looking to get value out of the Battlecry of the Void Terror. It's just a sad little 3-mana 3/3.
And another card for Orange that actually just sits dead in hand. All right, Orange. That Coin Curator looks like one of your best chances. So the secrets that are in the hand are secrets that are naturally in the deck. So he knows that those are not going to be cards like Counterspell for the coin, or the Mirror Entity, for instance, to stop the Curator from generating one-sided value. So Orange can catch up. It's just going to take a lot of turns to set this up.
I mean, Tice just had some weak turns. Well, he just had a weak turn on 6. Now it's kind of like Orange's saving grace. Tice didn't have a strong proactive play on 6.
Yep.
And now, with no board presence, the Firelands portal lines up very poorly against the Curator.
And it's like this Polymorph is not trying to hit a 4/6 in the matchup that does nothing else. You're looking to hit something a lot more valuable. You could glyph into a Fireball, that's a possibility, but then that doesn't guarantee you solve the problem with that 4/6. One of the things to keep in mind, too, is that the Flame Strike is going to extract value no matter what, and that 4/6 is probably going to get targeted by it, or killed by it. And if it doesn't, and it gets buffed, then you can Polymorph that minion.
And there's a Spellbender. Look at how sick that is against Orange's hand. Spiker Steed, Blessing of Kings, Blessing of Kings. Good luck.
Good thing we have Tareem to negate that afterwards, but when it's costing you a 1-mana secret, this is so cheap for Tice.
Pinging the Curator, sets up the Portalet. It's 2 turns away from a Flame Strike ping on it.
That's just calculating whether or not taking the... Go ahead.
That's Spellbender for Tice. I can't get over how sick that is. He just cut off 3 key cards from Orange's hand.
Yeah.
I've had this happen. I think in this tournament, I had this happen to me where I was the aggro paladin with the horrible draw and my opponent's spellbenders, and I played around it as long as I could, and eventually I had to play into it, and I was like, yeah, and we're dead here. It's just spellbender against paladin's crazy. You're gonna watch out for that one.
It's like the eye for an eye
paladin.
of mages.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like the
Even
revenge
more brutal.
secret. Okay, looks like Orange might be lining himself up to just play with Temples, or if he wants to, since he's got no more Murlocs. What a miserable state Orange's hand is looking in right now.
Yeah, he's not even hero powering out Murlocs.
Yep, it doesn't really
So-
generate value on Megasaur. Everything about this just feels awful. But at least we got a Firelands portal for Ties, right? It can't be
Tice is
that
feeling
good.
pretty good.
Okay, that's mid, a subpar, I think, like slightly under average. Okay, another Murloc. Can we do this? Can we do something here, Zole?
Well, he can hero power and Sunkeeper tear him, and it gets a decent amount of value. If he waits a turn, he might get the Alexstrasza in that Sunkeeper tear him, but it's pretty tempting to tear him now. He knows he wants to avoid the Spikered Steed and the Kings to try and play around Spellbender. Actually, another way of looking at it is just saying, you know what, I hope that's not a Spellbender, because my hand doesn't play around Spellbender this game. He could just give up on being Spellbender. Oh, he's going for the tear him.
Into the up
And then
trade.
takes the value trade. Interesting.
Yeah.
He values the...
Well, or might
doesn't
not
seem
take the
right
trade,
at
might
all.
use the shield that way, what it's worth. But if he
This is-
values it like playing around Flame Strike, then clearly the Divine Shield is worth a lot more.
Okay.
So,
So he's trying to play around Flame Strike as much as he can. The Divine Shield still gets pinged off with the Flame Strike, though. It's just kind of a weird line from Orange. I don't understand it. I guess if he didn't protect the Divine Shield and there were a Flame Strike, then Flame Strike plus Frostbolt would be a clear.
would be clear on the Tarim, so it's like Flame Strike, Frostbolt together would clear off the board. So make sure you keep one minion as a target for your buffs, which is actually not a bad idea, except, you know, in the event that there was a Spellbender.
I mean, Orange is doing a great job of just playing around everything. He's playing around
Yeah.
the Spellbender, he's playing around the Flame Strike, he's doing the best he can in just really bleak circumstances of hanging on to this game. So I gotta give him credit for that. So Eye for an Eye can be key against Mage, but I don't know if this is that style of game. He might prefer Redemption to try and protect his minion presence, set up for like a Megasaur or something like that.
Yeah, I like that a lot better. Plus, now Orange is faced with a hard decision. Do I play around a randomly generated secret from Primordial Glyph? Not fully randomly. You know, there was agency in it, so it's even more likely to be that after you've checked for everything else. But clearly
Kinda
for
rolled his
him,
eyes.
I think
Kinda
if
rolled
you're
his
going
eyes
to
a
go...
little bit. Just
The
thinking
what?
about this decision. Orange just sort of rolled his eyes. He's
Yeah.
like, oh god, this is probably a Spellbender.
You can't play into it, though. I think you can... Because the thing is, you're... Blessing of Kings... Like, double Kings or Kings plus Steed kind of plays around it. Oh, Poisonous. That's pretty cute. That's going to deal with that Spellbender. Yeah, you can play around it by stacking 2 buffs at once where you kind of compensate. But if you're playing into it hardcore, then you just lose the game if you played your buffs this turn. God.
So that secret from Orange, very threatening. Tyson's thinking maybe it's Repentance. Do I lead with like a Medivh's Valet this turn? And then followed up with Medivh. Might value killing the 2/2 poison minion. Yeah, to protect your Medivh. And now this is the turn 10 for Orange, where he set up Kings on Spellbender, and then the Spikeridge Steed actually sticks. But Tice just has the Polymorph in hand to answer it. So I think this is kind of what Orange has been setting up. And I think he's gonna pull him out
that
anyways.
Polymorph came from Babbling Book #1 very early in the game, which is making the fact, like, Orange not going to play around that for sure. Like, there's very little chance that this is something he's worried about. At the moment, it's bad enough that he has to worry about Spellbender. I don't think playing around Polymorph from a book is on his mind just yet.
Tice mousing over the Polymorph from a book.
Like, what is this?
So it does look like, if you look at Orange's hand, if he tries to play around Spellbender by never playing these buff cards, is it really going to work? He's just going to run out of stuff, right?
Actually, he can clear up the board with that, and as long as Thijs doesn't pick up AoE, maybe this works out, because he's got another War Leader in the deck, so there's like the weird off chance where Orange ends up so far ahead on board that it's okay.
Okay.
If he gets countered by Spellbender, but it seems kind of a big stretch.
Just all game Orange playing around this Spellbender.
It's working now.
As hard as possible. It's kind of
really
cool to
working
watch.
Now. It might work a little bit less going forward.
So book
especially
first,
if this gives a flame strike.
Yeah, just AoE in general. It's pretty good too.
That's back-breaking.
Is it the play? I mean, Alex draws a face is a lot of damage. I guess you're
saying
saying
you auto-win if you defuse this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's Tyrion you have to worry about. Like, Spikersea is taken care of by your Spellbender, and Polymorph takes care of Tyrion. Oh, that's the Death Rattle girl. Whatever her name is. Spirit Singer Umbra.
I can't think of Death Rattles in this Mage, though.
Maybe Cabal Carrier bringing out something. Hey, that's a cool guy. I'll take
Dodge
a
the
0-4.
Doomsayer. That is a crucial role for Thijs there. If you hit the Doomsayer, that was giving Orange some outs.
Ooh. Okay. We still in this?
Technically.
Yeah. I mean, we used up 2 Megasaurs on nothing, so I don't know about that.
This doesn't feel like the Blessing of King Spike Ridge Steed turn, considering he doesn't have minions to attack. Probably Finge a Hero Power this turn, then just go for it next turn.
Yeah, seems about right. And I mean, yeah, Orange is just. I can't think of a way. So from Orange perspective, definitely you're gonna Finch your Hero Power. I'm just trying to figure out, like, from a caster vision perspective, how he gets away with this game.
It's tough. Kind of needs a miracle.
And that Pickle draws, of course. Cabal Carrier could give a Death Rattle. What are we looking for? Nothing really. We're just gonna
Alex to the face. Yeah.
Seems about
Kill some
right.
Murlocs. Kill the Murlocs to, just deny those options. Cut off Murloc buff synergy such.
And now the 3/3 doesn't die to Finja, so this Finja has nothing to do. And now the 1-drops come out. Orange is like, oh, I'm starting to get my early game curve. This is fantastic.
And he knows about that Spellbender. He's not surprised at all.
But at least he's got a way to taunt up, so barring removal from the opponent.
Yeah, no, as long as Thijs doesn't have a Polymorph here, then Orange has a chance. Do you think Thijs has a Polymorph?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think he's put it in this deck. I don't know how he would come across one.
Maybe a book?
Yeah, you're right. Babbling Book would do it. You're correct.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Looks like Babbling Book did it.
Summoning Portal. Okay. Yeah, Orange just had enough of this game. I feel for him. That was just brutal. That was like
bad.
20 minutes of Orange playing around everything Thijs had and then still losing to it.
It's just one of those games where you're playing an aggro deck with like double Tidecaller, double Grimscale Chump, double Bluegill Warrior, double Rockpool Hunter, double Cold Light Seer, nothing comes up. So you just get melted. So this is kind of what Murloc Paladin does when it hits the top end. On the flip side, when it comes out in the other direction, when it opens up aggressively and transitions into the late game, that deck is terrifying.
All right, good news for Orange. He gets a good matchup. Whew. Quest Rogue versus Jade Druid. So, basically, Jade Druid doesn't get to its endgame as fast as Quest Rogue does. Jade Druid needs like really early pressure to try and kill the Quest Rogue before the quest, because the sort of mid-game quest really takes over in terms of power spike before the Jade ramps up enough to kind of handle the tempo and value of a bunch of 5/5s being spammed.
Yeah. To be fair, though, I think Orange's lineup is looking great against that Jade Druid. We're looking at Secret Mage left. There's the aggro Murloc Paladin and the Quest Rogue. These 3 decks actually have a pretty good chance of making it through if the cards line up properly for him at this point. I mean, Ty's definitely with the anti-aggro tech with a Tar Creeper. He's got a way to handle some of that, but barring Paladin, this Harrison Jones is mostly dead.
You're absolutely right. Orange is targeting that Jade Druid with his lineup, and it's starting to pay off for him here. As far as Orange's quest goes, he's got, what is that, 2 Fireflies and a Brewmaster, so he's at 3. He's just not quite completing the quest yet, but Theis has got a pretty slow start. No Wild Growth, no Jade Blossom, just Tar Creeper and maybe a Coin Nourish. Probably Coin Harrison, actually.
Yeah, for tempo, or just raw tempo.
Yeah. I think Theis has probably played enough games right now that Orange might know about the Harrison, and he might swing with his weapon this turn. It'll be interesting to see, because last game he was playing around everything as much as possible all the time. So is he going to play around a Coin Harrison here by swinging with the weapon? That's a tough decision to make, because you hate to put your face into that.
3/5, yeah.
It feels really bad.
But you do get a decent trade. I mean, if the Druids only play on turn 4 is, Wrath and start pinging with hero power, I'll take that. It's slow enough that I end up winning the long term, so it's only bad maybe against like a case of Jade Spirit, Innervate, Wrath, in which case then they seize tempo. Yikes.
So Ancient Allure got nerfed because it was a 7 mana 5/5 draw 2. This is a 5 mana 5/4 draw 2. Pretty good.
The memes will never stop. To be fair, though, Orange is actually on the cusp of getting that quest completed. As long as he doesn't mill it, he'll be fine. And we've had that happen in the event.
Yeah, that is a real threat here if he's doing the quest on Fireflies, drawing a card every time.
Drink with me, friend.
Very mathy planning setup kind of turns here.
Yeah, without prep, that's the thing though. Like when you have prep, this deck is so much easier to pilot. There's so much less stress on you when you have preparation. You know that quest is gonna come out for cheap. You're gonna blow them out. When you have to worry about them removing your board, when they have something already established, it's a lot less straightforward. So while he's got all the pieces needed to complete the quest, he needs to find that time before the Druid snowballs. But yeah, without ramp, should be doable.
So this is sort of the weakness of Jade Druid, just lack of AoE to deal with a 5-wide board from Orange. Swipe only AoEs for 1, and those minions all have 2 health. I think swiping a 3/2, playing a Jade Idol for a minion, trading with Tar Creeper, and then maybe also trading with Harrison, depending on when you expect this quest to be completed. Should be.
I think the game's going to go long enough that you have to trade with Harrison. Because you're never really winning the long game anyway, so the idea is that you start them at 5/5s and hope that you're able to put down your own golems. You've got Aya Black Ball, so that's clearly a step in the right direction. It's just without Innervates, you don't get blowout turns like you're looking for.
It's just so tough for Theis to win this game.
So we need to go full blowout on this, is what he's saying. He says, if we're going to blow him out, it's going to be on the back of the perfect cycles with Gadgetzan. We're going to spawn as many Jades as we can. And I think, that's in the same line as trading with Harrison, right? It's the same logic. Need a blowout turn or we're never doing this. And oh my god!
Orange picks up the prep. See, Theis was kind of ramping for a Primordial Drake turn to try and AoE deal with the board, but Orange hits the prep, completing the quest this turn, protecting his minions from AoE. It's hard to imagine Theis ever winning this game from this point. I think disconnect outs come to mind.
Yeah, we had that happen a little bit earlier. Disconnect did play potentially a role in the series. In this case, though, it doesn't look like Orange is remotely pixelated enough on that webcam. I think he's staying. I think he's sticking around.
And there's the Primordial Drake Theis was setting up for, but Orange's top deck preparation played around it.
This is interesting. So he's setting up maximum, softening up of the board. But at this point, we've all been there. Well, you're dead on board. No reason to keep going.
Yeah. So Orange gets on the board 1-2, and he's got to win 2 games to take the series, but they are both favored games. So it's pretty close here. I think it's kind of 50-50 who wins the match from this point.
Yeah, I'd say so, because Mage is supposed to be something like 60-ish, right? I think it's like close to 60, if not 60, like above 60 for some versions of the deck against Jade Druid, and then you've got the Paladin, which is clearly a deck you're okay with running into Jade Druid, better even than mid-range Pally. You're so fast at getting those Murlocs in that it's crazy.
So we see here Orange is running an ice block in his secret mage, which is at its worst in this matchup. I would definitely expect him to mulligan it.
It's at its worst, but when it's free, it's not as bad because you get the free Cabal Crystal Runner. The question is how many secrets he runs. That's been kind of a debate, I think, for this type of deck.
Yeah, a lot of times
what else
it's
are you
4
running?
is the most common number.
Yeah.
So he hits the Arcanologist, so the Kirin Mage will, get tempo or get value, whatever you want to call it. Frost Nova really not the greatest against Jade Druid. A lot of Jade Druid's minions have taunt, and it's just kind of, it's not the burn that you want to close out the game. Now,
Still a very good opener for Orange, though. Like, it's gonna get, it's about the best it gets for him. Counterspell's pretty sweet too. If Dice pulls a trigger on swipe early, though, it's worse. But with Jade Blossom, I have no reason to assume he's gonna do that.
Yeah, this is pretty sick for Orange. The Kirin Mage counterspell. Kirby 1, 2, 3. He had the weaker one, but it's still like enough that this looks great for him. And look what that counterspell is doing, stopping a swiper and nourish. And Thijs is now thinking, well, it's my turn 6. He would play a mirror entity to set up for, because turn 6 is a minion turn for Jade Druid, right? They play Aya, they play Jade Behemoth. So this would be a turn where Orange would want to set up a mirror entity. So he might go for the spell, expecting it to be a mirror entity.
The thing with mirror entity and counterspell is they're equally represented in Secret Mage. So you're literally just going in blind and saying, whatever, it's one or the other. I can't really play around either. So the question is, which one is worse for me? And I think it's worse if you get counterspelled to the swipe than if you get a mirror entity set up here. Because at least you keep minions, you have the swipe, you have the Drake. So playing into mirror entity is clearly less punishing.
Yeah, and just playing on curve is good. It's a stronger play. Like Jade Behemoth on 6. So Thijs rewarded there for his decision to go with the green elephant.
Like, Fireball seems pretty straightforward here.
Yeah, you're going to want to clear that 3/6 with your spell so that your minions can push face. That's exactly how you do it in Hearthstone.
Removal is always better when you've got stuff on the board. If you had to summarize Hearthstone, is use your removal when you've got stuff on the board, ideally. And this is pretty much what this Fireball accomplished. I have Blackwell, fantastic. No hesitation.
He wants to play a minion. Yeah, he just wants to play a minion because he doesn't want to play a spell into that counterspell, so he's a great minion to play on 7 there. He's looking to get the Primordial Drake next turn to hopefully stabilize.
Oof.
Orange has some decisions to make here.
So he can push 5 this turn, but you don't assume that your damage is going to be meaningful until you get lethal, because the armor gain in that deck is big enough that you can't just fetch burn. Now the question is of whether or not the 5/5 is worth more than a 2/3 that kills something, and I would be inclined to play the Valet more often than not. It's just that on 8 mana, what comes out is pretty scary.
Well, it's very unclear what Orange wants to do this turn, because Primordial Drake is the big thing on Orange's mind here. So he's saying, do I just start burning face here with Valet face and like a Primordial Glyph for burn spells or pinging face? Or do I try and play for board and try and like keep pushing more minion damage after the Primordial Drake? Or do I play for board and just hope he doesn't have the Primordial Drake? These are kinds of the decisions he's making.
Yeah, this is one of those matchups too where if you're the Mage player, you're really looking to get those blowouts, early secrets for cheap. Okay, looks like Orange is on the burn plan. He's saying, you know what, I can't beat this Jade value later on. Less so with the Drake, so I'm going to rely on those glyphs to fetch me the burn I need, plus the one I've got in the deck. And it looks like in this case it might be the correct line, because the Drake ends up damaging the stuff that's already on the board, so you're keeping your 4/3 and your 2/3 alive. If you pick up a Primal Glyph Polymorph, you get to go face again with those minions, and the recurring damage matters a ton. So Orange, I think, identifying a really solid line of play, is counterspelling Feral Rages, is counterspelling Earthen Scales. Really like this by Orange. Sick line.
Yeah, great analysis, Noxious. Just really setting up perfectly here for the Primordial Drake. Maxing his outs to win. And
that's a 4-mana Meteor.
yeah, the Meteor gets through the Primordial Drake.
God.
And allows him to push face damage. The Meteor is effectively a burn face spell, right? It's kind of like fireballing face, but it even protects some board presence while you're at it. That's pretty good.
Yeah, right now that's kind of what it does, yeah. You're right. And now he's putting Thijs on a 2-turn lethal through the armor up.
Now this Jade Blossom for Tice eats the counterspell, allowing him to try to nourish. Well, maybe he eats the counterspell, swipes, and hero powers, and then next turn he can nourish, looking for healing.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's a decent line of play. They need 2 pieces of burn to kill you. So I kind of like that. At least you picked up a spell to burn this easily. I was going to say, if Tice hadn't found this Jade Blossom or another cheap spell, this counter spell just completely devastated him.
Now hold on. Tice does have a more defensive line of play available to him. He could Jade Blossom to eat the counterspell, nourish for cards looking for Earthen Scales.
Sure, that's the quote-unquote best-case scenario.
That's the most defensive, like if he wants to try to play around the 2 burn spells, if he thinks that's likely. The counterspells for... Run swipe into counterspell first.
Yeah,
he was hoping it was Spellbender? I don't know.
Most power on board at the end of the sequence. Alright, let's see that Frostbolt. Glyph, you're up. I mean, give me a Fireball, I don't care. Just anything that burns face. Okay, I mean, that does the trick. It's a 4-mana Firelands with the Apprentice on the board. But the issue is, there is the possibility of Earthen Scales and Feral Rage. Must you counterspell this turn?
Yeah, he can Fireball, coin counterspell, and pick Fireland's Portal, and it's perfect. It sets up lethal and develops a counterspell to try and protect the lethal from Earthen Scales and Feral Rage.
I like that a little bit more than just going for the Firelands this turn. Unless you're Firelanding in the 5/5, in which case, you're just going for board control.
No.
But I'd be inclined
Not
to
at all.
counterspell. He's struggled so much to get rid of your first counterspell.
Yeah, the counterspell protecting against heal makes the Fireball face line really great.
Oh, that's fine too.
Ping's face. It saves the flexibility a little bit. He still has Fireland's Portal plus Fireball next turn. You Fireball first. And there's the Earthen Scales. Do you run the Nourish into the counterspell?
What choice you got, man? I'm looking at this and I'm thinking the only way I lose is if I get burned out, right? Because at this point you're still gonna outscale him late game with big minions, so it's down to how much health he can conserve.
Well, hold on, because if you Nourish into counterspell and play the Earthen Scales, all of a sudden you don't have any card draw available to you.
Sure.
So you could potentially run into issues that way. This is kind of like, we're seeing the advantage to Orange pinging last turn instead of Fireballing. Like I said, he's disguising the lethal, and he's going to get rewarded.
But there could be another Earthen Scales, and there are 2 Feral Rages, both playable, which represent more armor even than the initial Earthen Scales, and that is the Feral Rage!
Okay. Orange is still in this. He could draw Burn, he could hit a Charger off Fireland's Portal.
Yeah, Leroy Jenkins plenty. I mean, there's still... We just have to look at this that way, right? There's still 11 damage coming in next turn by Orange. So over 2 turns, unless Tice picks up even more armor generation, this is still going to give Orange a huge window of opportunity. Uh-oh.
The girl costs 0 mana, right? You can go girl, portal, coin, fireball. You fireball before the portal, maybe? Actually, it depends how lucky you think you need to get.
Well, what can you get from as a 5-drop that benefits from being a spell, like Red Mana Worm, right?
Yeah, Red Mana Worm, Lyra.
Halazeel. Yeah, those are like fringe cases, but there's enough of them now that I think it's always better to start with Firelands, right?
Is Naga, is the 5-mana 5/5 that makes your spells cost 5 still in Standard?
I believe it's rotated out.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to lie, but Naga Sea Witch, I'm pretty sure is gone.
So if he Gadget Innervate Nourishes, he gets maximum draws towards the 1 Earthen Scales, but he doesn't have mana that way for the 2nd Feral Rage.
Right.
He doesn't need to worry about the board. He can just trade his board into Orange's board. He just wants to worry about maximizing life total to not get burned out. Is that true, though, actually? If he doesn't develop a board here to get ahead, then Orange could develop a board with something like a Fireland's Portal, and then Tice wouldn't really have an answer for it.
Or even Cabal Crystal Runner. Like, anything that sticks around is a problem. So, maybe you're right. You actually just need to cycle Jade Idols. And, oh, wow, what a draw here.
Best of both worlds.
This is insane for Tice.
So Wrath for 3, drawing a card.
Picks up another draw.
Yeah, I guess that's better than Jade Spirit, right? Because you could hit Feral Rage or Earthen Scales. It's much better.
Yep.
6/6. Wild Growth is 3 more draws at the 2nd Earthen Scales. You gotta go fast. That rope's burning.
That's the Jade Idol you're not looking for. Still excess mana in here. 2 more draws for the 2nd Earthen Scales. Come on, Rope.
Gotta make those trades, too.
He must have seen his draw because it wasn't the Earthen
Yeah.
Scales play. And now that leaves Frostbolt number 2 for Orange, I believe. It was the next card. Outrage is heartless.
Lethal outs.
That is not what Orange wanted. That Mana Worm is clearly far from being what he was looking for. And suddenly this game is going haywire for Orange.
What to do?
So,
What to do?
wow. Does he kill the gadget ever? Because then he has to pick up multiple burn spells to win. Maybe you're better off ignoring the gadget and hoping that Tice just has nothing.
I think there's no way you're winning if you're not burning face with these things.
Yeah.
I might be like overestimating the impact of the burn, but I don't see how you're closing this game out by playing the long game. I think you Elise for a pack, pray, and then keep your coin. I mean,
you might rather hold Elise to avoid drawing the
right.
pack. You might just go Mana Worm, Fireball Face, Ping Face.
I don't know, man. Like the pack has what Flame Geyser in it. Is there any charger you're looking for in the deck? Not really. Like there's like. Oh, he's playing a long game. All right, here we go. Now we want the pack.
Yeah, he's definitely playing for the pack this way.
Yeah. I mean, that's a rough one for Orange. So close. That Fel Rage, man. That first Fel Rage for Tice.
Yeah. This was a nail biter of a game for sure. It was so close at several points.
I mean, Tice played really well. I mean, he pitched the Earthen Scales into Counterspell, right?
Yeah,
that was the interesting. That was like the one point where there was an opportunity for this not to work out. Like if he didn't pick up that health, he was dipping really low and just effectively dying. But picking up the health gain really nullified Orange's ability to win this. I wonder what the odds were of picking up more armor gain on the back of the draw. A little bit over like 40, maybe 40% ish.
Sure, he had 3 draws at 3 outs. There was a second Earthen Scales and 2 Feral Rages, 3 draws, but the Nourish wasn't leaving him with. Oh, it was so here, I mean, how can Orange win, right? Even Earth Elemental off this doesn't do it.
So opponent at 11 health, kill at 3/5, get Leroy, push face. Are you still dead on board? I think you are, yeah.
It's a 25 on board from Tice right now, so exact lethal.
Yeah, and if you kill the 3/5 and get Leroy to hit face, you're still not finding any follow up, so you still can't really win this. There's no 5-drop that saves you. A-Bomb doesn't do it. Earth Elemental doesn't do it. This definitely doesn't do it. No more glyphs in the deck either. You can't just randomly get there.
Yeah, so Tice doesn't have lethal this turn, but Orange doesn't really have. He doesn't have realistic outs. There's always the meme outs with like randomly generated Kabbalist Tome chain series of stuff, but.
Oh, sure. Okay. That's Hearthstone. You never know. Could get the tome if he plays it. Oh, another Firelands. Hello.
Yeah, that's not good
putting
enough
stuff
here.
down that does nothing. So, could Orange have won if he'd gone face with that Fireball? Because he picked up 2 Firelands afterwards. It would have been an extra 10 damage. He would have still been a little bit off, regardless, because of the amount of health his opponent got. So, Orange is going to have to bow down to Tice. Takes it 3-1, and Orange's strategy of isolating Quest Rogue never working out, man. Like plays aggro, isolates Quest Rogue, tries to beat J Druid, doesn't work either.
I think Orange's strategy was good, and he got unlucky. I think this is, he had the right lineup for the matchup against Tice, and the draws were just not at all in his favor. And so, certainly there were a lot of interesting decisions to be made that mattered, and games of Hearthstone were played. It wasn't just luck, but on average, Orange is definitely statistically favored with that lineup against Tice, and the draws were just quite unfortunate for Orange.
Yeah. So if we asked him, do you want to replay this 100 times, he would probably say, yes, I'm okay with replaying that series 100 times. So that being said, guys, we'll be it for the 4th match of the day. We'll be taking a short break before being back with the 5th match with Stanudachi. I believe, is Stanudachi playing again? I think he still is.
Next match is Jigsaw versus Bunny Hopper.
Okay, Noxious Light again. Zixo versus Bunny Hopper are going to be online in a few. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.